So, on to a happier subject, and that is women and nurturing. I do think that hormones help explain why women are better nurturers of the young. Testosterone is a turnoff for nurturing, actually. Again, high testosterone women, less interested in babies, low testosterone women. In fact, no testosterone women. There are women who have a condition called Turner's syndrome. They have no testosterone, unusually interested in babies, really interested in dolls, much more so even than most women. What helps nurturing is estrogen and oxytocin, especially a nurturing hormone, which women have more neural receptors for it, and they also get more of them when they become pregnant. So female mothers more than fathers enjoy child care, especially with young babies, toddlers. One side of this is fathers tend to do just the fun things. They tend to read and play with the kid. Mother does everything. But if you ask mothers and fathers how much they like parenting, mothers say they like it more than fathers. Even if you go to Sweden, where there's been such an emphasis on androgynous gender roles and trying to make men and women have more or less identical lives, laws such as saying we have a parental leave policy, but 4 weeks of it has to be taken by the man, otherwise the family loses it entirely. Paid leave. So anyway, in Sweden you go and you look at families where the father is about to have a kid, says, I want to be the principal caretaker of this child. And then they send researchers into those families and find that that in those families, the mothers display affectionate behavior, vocalize, smile, tend, hold, and soothe the infant more than the fathers do. On a 10-point scale, if you ask mothers what's important to their happiness, and part of my argument is that I think women are really into relationships. From the very start, they have best friends. Boys tend to travel in packs. They share all their experiences with these best friends. When you go through puberty, when women get more estrogen, they become more interested in people. When boys go through puberty, get more testosterone, they become more loners. So women are really interested in these relationships, especially relationships with their kids, and I think 86% of women on a scale of 1 to 10 of mothers say how important to your happiness is your kid, say it's a 10. 30%, if they work, say that about their job. So I would argue that we shouldn't push women into doing what I think often happens, and that is they become very anxious as well as guilty when they're away from young kids. I don't think there are many mothers with one-year-olds who enjoy working 50 hours a week, or at least enjoy in the way a man can, because the evidence suggests that men can put on hold their parenting in a way that women can't. They're always kind of worried that something's going to go wrong. I see I'm nearing the end of where I should speak, I think. But I do think, let me just end with a final statement, but before that, an anecdote, which I think is important, and it shows how tough some of these decisions are for really talented women. Because, and they really are, and there's some really moving stories, I think, anecdotes in my book, as well as cartoons. It's not just all studies, despite what it sound like here. But the anecdote that I think impressed me most was by Madeline Kunin, who's was a governor of Vermont for a couple terms. She had 4 young kids while she was governor. And she writes an autobiography. And in the autobiography, she says, at least once a day, I would feel a stab in my chest, thinking I should be at one place when I was at another. There was no cure for the anxiety. All I could do was not to let it overwhelm me, not to let it pull me down. I think there are multiple studies that show the stresses of, even when you have a supportive spouse, and even when your kid is not young, but even he's a teenager, that there's more stress, more cortisol, stress hormone, in mothers at work than there are fathers at work. So what I come away with is the view, not that dads shouldn't do anything. They're terribly important. We can talk about that if you like. But that we aren't doing women especially any favors if we make them think that they should rush back to careers if there's something in them that tells me I should spend this time with my kid. I don't think, since we're not made the same way, if men and women do everything equally, you're not going to get equal happiness, because women are going to have these stresses when at work, for example, that men are not going to have. So let me stop there.